Hi y'all. So this is video number 3 in our Grow Your Hair for Real series. I guess it's a series now because we got 3 videos and more to come. So let me just recap a little bit about where we are. Those 2 videos are up. You can go watch them. But in short, we talked about why our hair truly doesn't grow. We talked about how comes products are not necessarily working on our hair, that we are individuals, so we need to deal with the individual issues that our body is going through in order to actually sustain hair growth. So we talked about the phases of hair growth: the anagen phase, which is the growth phase; the catagen phase, which is the regression phase; the telogen phase, which is the resting phase; and then the exogen phase, which is the actual shedding of dead hair. So we talked about the importance of staying in the anagen phase as long as possible so the hair has an opportunity to grow. While in that phase, I think I mentioned like the dermopulpia, which is at the base of the hair follicle, that actually causes cell differentiation and the growth of the hair shaft out of the hair follicle. This is the shaft, right? And so we talked about this hair essentially being just dead keratin cells at this point. So the most that we could do with it is just to make it like shiny and healthy and hang on as long as possible while it's in this resting phase or before it falls off. I think I also mentioned that your hair is so like fascinating and wonderful that it can be in several different stages. Like the one strand, this strand could be in anagen, and this strand could be in catagen, and this strand could be in telogen. So I just think, God is awesome. It's just amazing, right? So that stuff has to also be taken into consideration what phase your hair is in. But the main goal is to make sure that you stay in anagen phase as long as possible. The phase is typically like 2 to 6 years, and in that phase the hair is growing. What science has found out is that in African American people the phase is slightly shorter. In addition to that, we know the hair follicle is different. It's more elliptical versus like round or oval. And that elliptical shape gives us the really tightly coiled hair. And so the hair is growing, right? But you don't see the length in it because it's coiled so tight. In addition to it being coiled so tight, that coil makes it really delicate and fragile. And so it easily breaks. And so then we introduce in our own practices like rubber bands, scrunchies, tight gel buns, braids, wigs, whatever. And then our natural hair there's already, remember, dead hair shaft is already fragile, right? It's gonna fall off. It just does not even have a chance, right? So we do want to essentially do the best we can to nourish the follicle itself, to lengthen that anagen phase so the hair has the opportunity, but then we have to also treat it good once it comes out. It needs our support there. So that at that point, that's where we can add like healthy oils and things to make your hair look nourished. But the growing is not taking part here. So when people are lathering their hair, that's not helping your hair grow. Okay, the most that could do is help it hold on because it's already ready, coming to the point of falling off. So all these products that say they do these things don't. We have to treat the follicle. The hair is growing from the base or the bulb where the cell is differentiating, and out comes the shaft. So that's the truth of it. And another thing is with the hair follicle, we cannot do anything about the shape of it, right? That's just genetics. And so there's a point where it can change slightly at puberty, but before and after there is no change. So if you have an elliptical hair shaft, the most we can hope for is a longer anagen phase, so the hair has more time to grow, right? Because you got to think it's coming out coiled, so that's a harder process in itself. But then also we have to be prepared to take care of that hair that comes out if you want to see growth. So those are the 2 things that are most important. But there are other things that are important, right? So if the anagen phase is important, then we want to stand it. Then we want to talk about the hormones in our body that affect it. So I'm not going to say we all know because we don't all know. So let me just, for those who do not know, your hormones are just chemical messengers, right? And so it's their responsibility to give information from here to different tissues, different organs, including your scalp and your hair follicle, which is an organ. Your hair follicle is an organ. So it's waiting for communication. And so if them hormones communicate incorrectly, it's going to tell that hair follicle to do the wrong thing. So some hormones that contribute to that are cortisol. I think I mentioned estrogen, progesterone, DHT, androgens, insulin. So those all contribute to how much hair you're going to get because they impact the length of your anagen phase, which is a growth phase. So I figured the best way to deal with this would be to, break it down a little bit so it's not so much information in one video. And I still don't have a whiteboard, so I'm gonna get that. So if we start with cortisol, we'll just start with cortisol. People are familiar with it. That is our stress hormone. It is a steroid hormone like the other ones, right? It's just some of them are sex hormones, and cortisol is not a sex hormone. But like your estrogen, progesterone, testosterone, they will fall into that category of sex hormones. Whereas like cortisol, insulin, thyroid hormones would fall into your steroid hormones that are not related to sex hormones, though. They're related to your endocrine system. So we have to make sure that that system is functioning and healthy as well. So it's a lot to growing your hair. It's more than just surface, right? We have to make sure that from a hormonal standpoint, your body's doing good and your body is healthy. Your cortisol hormone is responsible for so much, right? Your metabolism, it's responsible for management of inflammation, so it works with your immune system. It's responsible for blood pressure, blood sugar, your sleep. All of that stuff plays into your cortisol hormone. And the thing with that is that it is a stress hormone. So there's different types of stress. So I want to say that too. I'm not talking about acute stress, which is like, all of a sudden stress, like, oh, someone almost hit me and I'm under like instant stress. That's acute. That's gonna pass, right? And I'm not talking about necessarily traumatic stress, which traumatic stress can turn into chronic stress, but a traumatic stress is like something traumatic happened to you, like a major illness or some type of sexual trauma. Something like that could be considered a traumatic stress. Cortisol is really triggered by chronic stress. This is stress that we are under every single day. So we talk about children, men or women, like partners. We're talking about jobs, school, bills, that type of stress. The stress that we all are up under. Like we all are under some type of stress, right? So our cortisol is on the go, especially right now in this day and age. We are under stress. So number one, we need to really manage our stress. And as Black women, we carry a lot of stress. And as Black men, right, we have our stress is somewhere up there, okay? So we know that we have to work on managing our stress. So chances are cortisol is really high in our body. So when cortisol is high in our body, it signals our body to do the wrong things, okay? So it has to make sure that your body has enough glucose for ATP production for your brain. Because typically when we're under stress, we thinking, right? I gotta figure out how I'm gonna deal with these kids, this man or woman, these bills, this job. So the mind, your brain needs energy to try to process stuff. First of all, you shouldn't be processing, right? Okay, you need to give that stuff to God. But we try to manage it and process it ourselves. So there we go. We stressed out. Blood pressure's high, blood sugar ain't functioning right. We ain't sleeping. We got headaches, hair falling out on the floor because we're under too much stress. Cortisol is trying to figure out, why can't this person calm down? You were never designed to take on that much stress. So we have to first reduce our stress, right? And number one way to do that is like proper eating, trying to get some good sleep, and just giving over what we are never intend to manage. And then also not introducing more stress into our life, right? Not making no more bad decisions that compound the stress that we already got in our life. Okay, that's another video, not for today. But back on the hair topic, when cortisol is too high in your body, it literally is trying to take the burden off of your scalp and hair follicles, so it pushes your body quickly out of anagen phase into telogen resting phase. And remember, as I mentioned, resting phase is basically the hair is just waiting for exogen phase to fall off, right? So you just push right on out of anagen, forget about catagen, which is important because the blood supply gets cut off, on into resting. So your hair doesn't even have an opportunity to grow. That's what cortisol essentially does to you. In addition to that, cortisol, like I mentioned, helps your immune system with inflammation in small spurts. But when cortisol is too high in your body, it overburdens your immune system. So it slows down your body's ability to manage inflammation. And so now you have scalp inflammation, in addition to joint inflammation, inflammation all over the body. So this is bigger and deeper than just hair. But since this is a hair topic, that's what we're concentrating. But cortisol affects your systems overall, right? So we need to manage our stress, not just for the sake of beautiful hair. Okay, we want to make sure that we manage our stress in general. Okay, so how you know that cortisol is too high? Because remember, that's what I was mentioning. It is important for us to treat our bodies as individuals. This is holistic healing, which means mind, body, spirit. You are an individual. Even if you have a twin, you guys are individuals because you walk a separate path in life. So we need to look at the individual factors that affect your body. So when we're dealing with hair growth or whatever else, we want to know, as holistic practitioners, what you're going through. And there's certain things that we should be listening for to determine what is the best natural or alternative route for this person to take for their own individual growth and healing and wellness. Okay, so signs that cortisol is really high in your body could be things like headaches and migraines, of course weight gain, predominantly abdominal weight gain if you're carrying a lot of weight there. You could be experiencing like back and neck tension. You are not getting enough sleep. If you wake up from sleep, you are not rested. You could be having freaking urination throughout the night. Those are all questions that I'm going to ask you to find out what hormone is in play, versus other questions I might ask you about insulin or thyroid, depending on what I'm trying to find out. I mean, it depends on what we're looking for. That's the importance of you not just assuming this is going to work for you and then being disappointed when it doesn't work, because we are not picking the proper herb or oil for you, if that makes sense, because that was a whole mouthful. Okay, so if cortisol is an issue, we want to put you on adaptogen type herbs, right? We want to focus past your hair. We want to think about putting out the fire, not turning off alarms. So hair loss is essentially a fire raging, right? We don't want to just stop the hair fall. We want to figure out what's burning and what is actually causing your hair to be falling out. So when you think about growing your hair, you want to think about healing your body, right? I think I mentioned like hair being like a upper because we practice Ayurveda here. So it's like a waste product of a bone, right? So we want to think about what could be happening to us internally that's causing this hair to fall out of our head. So if it is a part of your osteo, your bone, remember I mentioned like you need like calcium. That's important, right? Vitamin D, that's important for your bones, which makes it important for your hair. So we want to heal you from the inside out. Okay, so your skin is your largest organ. It shows what's going on inside. Your hair is a product of your skin as well, right? So it's showing you what's happening to you internally. And I think I mentioned that it's so many factors that go into your hair, like genetics and lifestyle and all that stuff, right? So it's a big complex issue. It's not simple. It is important, but it's not simple. So when it comes to managing cortisol, we want to make sure that we are first starting with herbs that help us from a hormonal level, not targeting herbs that we just think are going to make our hair grow. Like, it's a lot of information out there about rosemary and amla and fenugreek and all. Okay, yeah, wonderful, but it's an order to things, right? And they have to be used properly for the proper people, or there's no benefit. So just because you made a watered down rosemary oil that worked for you does not mean it's going to work for this person. So this person tries to make the same rosemary oil, which is probably a bad recipe anyway, and then their hair doesn't grow, and then we introduce more stress, and so cortisol levels go up again. So now you stress, why I can't grow my hair. Then it becomes a personal issue. My hair just don't grow, or I just don't have this, and now we internalize that, and we are also creating more stress in our bodies, and your hair is never going to grow. So the best thing to do is to have a true starting point and figure out what's going on with you. So adaptogen herbs are very powerful allies in your healing journey. Ashwagandha is one that we're familiar with, but another one I want to introduce today is licorice. And I've already been on here a long time, so I won't be able to talk much about licorice. I'm gonna try to throw it in the next video. But licorice tea is beneficial for your cortisol levels, and it's also really beneficial for your hair if we focus back on hair. And then essential oils are really important too. I think I mentioned how essential oils actually work in the body. We breathe them in, they bind the olfactory in our nostrils, which communicates with our brain, and our brain to our limbic system. And at that point, we feel differently. Our limbic system deals with emotion, happy moods, and memories. So if you're happy, stress comes down, cortisol comes down, anagen phase is longer, hair has the opportunity to grow, right? So that's important. So essential oils are very beneficial. A quick one, lavender, but there's a lot of different ones that help to balance you out hormonally and keep you calm. We have a website that you can go to. We have information there. You can always message me there. You can schedule consultation no matter where you are. If you're local to Moreno Valley, you can come in. I would love to meet you in person, but you can also schedule with me and we can do it via Zoom or FaceTime, whatever you want to do. And we can get those questions answered and get you on the correct path to proper healing and choosing the proper herbs and oils for you. We do not just mass produce herbal products. That's not our goal here. This is individualized medicine. Then we just become another pharmaceutical company because it's not a one size fit all type of thing. So that's it, y'all. I hope that everybody is healthy or in the process of healing. And I just want to leave you with this. Just remember, do not bury the gifts that God has given to you. Those gifts are meant for the world. Share them. That's what we are trying to do here. And be blessed and be happy. Talk soon. Bye.